You recall that much earlier this year that the news came out of controversial remarks that were made by Reverend Wright, and when Barack Obama was questioned, he denied ever hearing them. 2 days later, he gave a speech in Pennsylvania in which he admitted that he had heard remarks like this on many occasions. Now, we fast forward to the press conference given by Reverend Wright in front of the National Press Club on April 28th of 2008. And at that press conference, Reverend Wright was asked for his reaction to Barack Obama's speech in Pennsylvania. Reverend Wright remarked that Barack Obama was just politically posturing himself. And he stated that politicians say what they say and they do what they do based on electability, based on sound bites, and based on polls. The very next day, Barack Obama finally denounced Reverend Wright, citing that his teachings are in conflict with Obama's long-held beliefs. Barack Obama also, during that press conference, stated that Reverend Wright is no longer the man that he met 20 years ago. This is Reverend Wright and his wife Ramah, whom he has been married to for slightly more than 20 years. Reverend Wright met Ramah when she and her husband came to him for marriage counseling at the Trinity United Church of Christ. And Reverend Wright did something quite unethical. He reportedly, according to the New York Post, wooed Ramah away from her husband, and then he married her. So that is the Reverend Wright that Barack Obama knew 20 years ago. Now fast forward to the present. This is Elizabeth Payne. She has been employed as a secretary at the Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. The church is run by one of Reverend Jeremiah Wright's disciples, basically a clone of his, Reverend Frederick Haynes III. Elizabeth Payne, 37 years old, and Reverend Jeremiah Wright, 67 years old, had a sexual relationship earlier this year. And when the news had come out about this in April, the same time that Barack Obama had denounced Reverend Wright, she was fired from her job. According to Payne's husband, Fred Payne, who was 64 years old, Reverend Wright had been emailing Elizabeth Payne, and he told her that he was going to leave his wife, Ramah, for her. Payne's husband, Fred Payne, said that he had learned about the affair in late February when he discovered more than 80 emails between his wife and Reverend Wright, in which he stated that he was going to leave his wife for Elizabeth. After Fred Payne heard about this, he headed straight for the divorce court. He was downright upset, and even the church was upset, because not only is this unethical behavior once again on Reverend Wright's part, but that they were greatly upset because of this being an interracial relationship. Elizabeth Payne is no longer a member of the congregation, and they will not even allow her on the premises. Now, we've seen how the media held back on Jonathan Edwards' affair for many months, and it appears that they also sat on this to protect Barack Obama. And this story was finally posted online by the New York Post on September 9th. So Barack Obama claims that Reverend Wright is not the man he knew 20 years ago, and it appears that he is exactly the same man. Also wanted to point out an inaccuracy in the New York Post story, because they claim that Barack Obama had already disavowed his pastor of 20 years weeks before, when in actuality it was not until April 28th that Reverend Wright appeared before the National Press Club, and it was the following day, April 29th, that Barack Obama denounced Reverend Wright, and I believe that he was using Reverend Wright's speech there as an excuse to disavow him and to disown him, and that this is probably the real reason, because the news came out in Dallas, Texas, but the mainstream media has chosen to sit on this story all this time. Thanks for listening.